All right, welcome to Decentralized News, a recap of the biggest news affecting the crypto economy. I'm your host, Piter, joined as always by Ozzy. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm doing
So
great.
we're going to be from the same country soon.
Yeah, never happening. Not happening.
You don't think you're gonna be the 51st or the 52nd state after Greenland?
Oh, we'll be if we're any state will be the 52nd, and Canada will fight you tooth and nail all the way.
Oh, really? I was curious. Like,
Oh yeah,
I hear.
there's already talking about strengthening the border and doing everyone talking about ah if the U.S. tries to invade, we'll fight them. It's you guys sound like Russia.
It's going to invade. It would just be an economic deal, right?
Let's just say not happening.
No more Trudeau.
Yeah, that's not surprising. It was the best move for his party.
So what's going on with the politics? Is it shifting to the right? Do you think it's more pro crypto? Like what the
I
do you see
don't
new
know if
leaders?
it's more pro crypto. It's shifting right for sure. We've Trudeau's been prime minister since 2015.
Feels like forever.
Yeah, so he's been prime minister for 10 years or nine or 10 years at this point, and people got tired of him. Like plain and simple. Some of it was policy. Some of it's just they're grumpy about life, and he's been prime minister for so long, so they're grumpy about he's the victim of that. So there's definitely a shift to the right that's happening, but
They're saying things have not improved the last 10 years.
I think things have. I think we've done a lot of things better, and we've learned a lot of things over the last 10 years. But we had COVID and a lot of other things that played a part in what's going on. But I don't know if it means more pro crypto. Crypto is like not a political issue here. Like just oddly enough, it's not. There are some regulations and that aren't as favorable to crypto as they could be, but it's not as political an issue here in Canada as it was in the U.S.
Well, we'll see with the election cycle that may be coming up. So it'll be interesting to watch how that plays out in Canada. It wasn't 2 elections ago, the election before this one. So that might change. But we're going to take a trip around the world with all the Bitcoin adoption news with our headlines today. Get into macro, which could probably be described as the bearish news, and then do a speed run through the cryptoverse. And we'll start in the United States briefly. The market, quote unquote, dumped, and it is literally right back where we started. It went all the way down. What did you say, 89?
Yeah,
Started at 94, went down to 89, back to 94, like all in half a day.
yeah, it's nuts. That's crypto for you.
The volatility it's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, although it's interesting if you look at it because Bitcoin's essentially back up to where it was, but ETH, Sol, AVAC, they're all still down 3 to 5%, like on the day. So
Right.
alts aren't recovering quite as fast as
Yeah, Bitcoin
Bitcoin.
dominance is up a little bit. It was like at 56, now at 57. It kind of topped out, I think around 62, 63. I'm curious if that was the top. Does it have one more surge, like maybe after the Trump election? It's just all Bitcoin for a minute,
Maybe.
or sorry.
Yeah, maybe especially some of the other stuff that we're going to talk about plays out first, like
Oh,
around
kick us off.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, let's get into it. We're starting off the United States. Yeah, kick us off, Ozzy.
Yeah, the first thing is we've got North Dakota and New Hampshire representatives introducing bills to invest state funds in Bitcoin. This now makes about 7 states that have bills involving the investment into Bitcoin. Pennsylvania, Texas are a couple of the others that are on that list.
Yeah, Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania. These are all famous swing states in the election. Big states. Big
Yeah,
states.
so they've all introduced bills. That being said, looking at the odds right now, Polymarket doesn't really have a lot of state by state level betting on this right now. The only one that we could find was that there's a 7% chance in Texas right now, which is really low. I thought Texas would be much higher than that.
One state out of the seven. If you had to put the odds on a state, let's say in the next 2-3 years going, what do you think the odds are?
Probably somewhere around 60 to 70%. In the next 3 years, probably higher than that. I'd probably say 80 or 90. Thinking Texas, Pennsylvania, Florida, maybe Arizona. Arizona, especially because they've got the mining facilities, so that might be kind of an interesting one.
I think you can probably speculate there'll be more than seven. You're talking about 15, 20% of the states, potentially 25% of the states, depending on how many more. I think the odds are pretty high. Something happens. I would be surprised if it didn't. Let's just put it that way.
Absolutely. Interest on at the national level for the US, there is another market that says there's a 27% chance that Trump will establish a Bitcoin reserve in the first 100 days in office. In November, this figure was as high as 45%. I'm actually a little bit surprised that it's this low.
It does say establish a Bitcoin reserve because what he did say he would do is just not sell the Bitcoin, like a strategic stockpile, he called it. So those are the comments he's made. I think there will be efforts, but when you think about it, that's a pretty tall mountain to climb to just the political will it will take to do it. So maybe the odds
Are closer to right, especially with the first
yeah,
100 days thing. Like,
yeah, maybe that's even kind of high odds. Like, that would
yeah,
be pretty cool.
pretty big. But there was just word today that like crypto, there's a bunch of crypto on his day one agenda. So
That's cool. He's gonna free Ross. I think that's one of the promises he made for sure. Fire Gary Gensler, although he's gonna quit before he can fire him.
yeah, I thought Gary
Seems
Gensler already quit. So to be honest,
like he announced it, I believe, but he's still technically in office, I believe. Like he's still running. But on another note, with this, on a possible benefit to having a strategic national reserve, Van Eck, $90 billion asset manager Van Eck, says the U.S. could reduce, or no, they probably have more under management, but their value 90 billion says the US could reduce its national debt by 35% by establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So people see this as maybe a way out of our debt crisis, or it could help.
yeah, that's pretty interesting. The fact that Bannock does have their own ETF, they do benefit from pushing Bitcoin as a whole, but the fact that it's seen as a strategy that could reduce national debt by 35%, that's pretty big considering how expensive your guys' debt is.
It's just ballooning. It's definitely a growing concern for the population. It's just, wow, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, we are sacrificing how many generations in the future they're going to be paying off this debt. It just becomes a bigger and bigger, you can't ignore it, the elephant in the room, the size it's getting to.
Yeah, no, you really can't. So worth considering, and hope maybe Trump does do it in his first 100 days.
Argument for it. We also had Trump making some news, or it was his Treasury pick. So it's not confirmed yet or anything. It was this guy, Scott Ascent. But it was disclosed, he disclosed owning 500, half a million worth of the Bitcoin ETF. I thought it might be interesting to look for comments he made on the subject. He described Bitcoin as being about freedom, emphasizing that everything is on the table with Bitcoin. I expressed excitement about President Trump's embrace of crypto, saying it fits well with the ethos of the Republican Party. Highlighted the crypto economy as something that's here to stay, suggesting that cryptocurrencies represent freedom. They're bringing young people and those who have not previously participated in markets in. So I thought that's interesting. And he has advocated for smart regulation, but not for stamping it out. This is the Treasury Secretary. This is a pretty high power position. It's nice to see some positive comments from him and that he owns it.
Yeah. If you're looking for someone that might be into establishing a a Bitcoin strategic reserve, someone that holds a Bitcoin ETF might be a good pick because they've got that long-term vision on Bitcoin. Hard to argue against a guy who owns $500,000 worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah, for sure. Continuing around the world, Ethiopia also in the news. The story brought up some interesting facts, digging into it. I saw a tweet, something about them making $100 million with Bitcoin mining. I couldn't find any data on that, but I did see in November it was reported that they made 55 million. So maybe you extrapolate that out a little bit, it makes sense. But their electric power company, they signed agreements to sell electricity to 25 Bitcoin mining companies and made millions of dollars on that. Ethiopia right now is the number four contributor, if you break it down by countries, for the hash rate. They contribute 2.25% of the hash rate. So that was interesting. I didn't know that about Ethiopia. And they have abundant electricity from hydroelectric power. On the other side of it, though, the reason they have so much extra electricity is only half the population has access to electricity. Here's a little hope that this money they're earning, the Ethiopia Electric Power Company can invest some of that into getting electricity to more people.
Yeah, hopefully the Bitcoin mining prowess is used for good, and that money actually. That's not the only person spending in not the only country in Africa that's talking about crypto. Kenya is preparing to legalize Bitcoin and crypto, according to their Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi. He said that they are preparing the legislation to allow its legalization, while saying that it isn't imminent. We're not expecting something in the next probably 2 or 3 months, but it is a major shift because Kenya was one of the first, was like a country that came out against crypto very early on. In December 2015, their central bank issued a public notice warning against crypto. And so it has been illegal in the country ever since. So this is a big change in direction because they didn't even fluctuate a few years ago in the last bull run. This is their first real kind of move 10 years after they originally banned crypto. So
Yeah, I think the stories also come out why you got to be careful with crypto Twitter because like you read these tweets and the headlines, it's, oh, there's legislation coming. You know what I mean? Like it just has that feel to it. But when you look into it, it's, they're working on it, and it is good. They have seemed to really about face from just being completely anti to we're trying to figure it out. But it's just we're working on it. It's not that big a deal. Did you see there was a similar tweet like this, but there was a Honduras, the leading presidential candidate, was recently seen in an interview in a Bitcoin hat. I don't know if you saw that tweet.
no, I didn't see that tweet, but
They're going to have an election this year at the end of November, and there's a lot of speculation. Oh, who is this guy? Oh, it's a smaller country. Without the Bitcoin hat, maybe no one will. There's a lot of people never would have heard of the guy. But anyway, so they're having an election. This guy is a legitimate candidate. He ran in 2013, 2017, was the VP in 2022. He seems to be in media, has some TV shows, stuff like that. But anyway, so he was seen recently in an interview in a Bitcoin hat. So I was like, all right, let's take a look at what this guy has said. And the only thing I could find was in May in 2022. This was a couple years ago, so he could have discovered a lot about it that he likes or whatever. But May 2022, he clarified his stance on Bitcoin, and what he said was he does not know about the topic. He does not recommend investing in it. He cautioned the public not to be deceived. Basically, just I don't know. So maybe he's coming around. Be interesting to watch, but it's just a hat so far.
yeah, it's just a hat, but still a shift because we haven't, South America's very much seemingly to shift towards Bitcoin, especially after Malay, but we've seen more and more candidates running on these Bitcoin first or these Bitcoin based platforms.
Yeah, it's certainly I haven't seen anything like that, but yeah, we'll be watching. We've talked about the Kingdom of Bhutan. Now, they are surprisingly, it's a little nation, but they're the number 4 holder of Bitcoin. They're actively involved. They have a lot of hydroelectric power too.
Yes, they do. That's really remote, so they can't actually sell it or use it for anything else. So
All you got to do is get an internet connection out there and
you mine Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. So they are building what they're calling a mindfulness city. But anyway, it's an economic zone. It's a big decades-long plan to build a city on the border with India, create a hub and whatever, like a connection. What do they call it? Connection linking South Asia and Southeast Asia. Okay, so it's a decade-long project, and they've already started raising funds and all that. So they announced that they are going to be holding not only Bitcoin, but Bitcoin, Ethereum, Binance. Binance has been making a lot of news lately. Binance as part of their financial strategy, they're going to hold it. So anyway, it's just another holder, just like a business holding Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's strategic reserve is what they're calling it, which is pretty surprising. That this strategic reserve of Bitcoin and sometimes other digital assets is really catching on. We can see this because global corporate Bitcoin treasuries have more than doubled in the last 12 months. So that's not, yeah, that's a lot of momentum. And
this was a slow grind up for a long time. I feel like we've been watching this for a while, but it feels like something's changed. Yeah, there's a lot of momentum here.
Something's changed because we had Microsoft have to have a vote on making this assessment. Now we've got Meta announcing that they're having a proposal about assessing adding Bitcoin to its treasury.
If you're not going to consider it, your shareholders are going to force you to publicly say no.
Yeah. And that is followed by publicly traded company Heritage Distilling adopting Bitcoin as a strategic reserve and accepting Bitcoin as payment. So pretty big move, double move, adding to both the strategic reserve side, but also Bitcoin as a currency. The publicly traded AI firm Genius Group has bought an additional 5 million in Bitcoin, claiming to be ahead of their $120 million target. And then publicly traded company CleanSpark, which is a Bitcoin mining company, announced that they now own over 10,000 Bitcoin that belongs on their balance sheet. Corporate Bitcoin treasuries continue to be dominating the scene. Even as we start seeing nations and states biting, corporations are really doubling down.
So what the heck? Why was the market dumping this morning? It's back to par, but all the news I could find is so positive. What's keeping the markets down?
It's the macro. There's nothing to really dodge that bullet at this point. Macro, we're about 15 days away from the next Fed meeting. We had a Fed meeting at basically the end of December that was bearish, with not a big expectation for cuts in this year, and just not a great outlook.
As the rates are still pretty high, and they were talking like maybe one or two cuts. So there was a lot of excitement initially. Oh, we're into the rate cutting cycle. But then this rate cutting cycle has been okay. There's kind of a couple cuts to start, and now it's the horizon doesn't look particularly bright in that regards.
Yeah, we brought rates down by 1%. We're talking maybe another 0.5% this year, but rates are still very high. And the other part that's gotten a lot of people concerned is that there's been no signal for when or if quantitative easing will begin, which a lot of people argue is what kicked off the last alt cycle. The fact that we haven't had any discussion of it is getting some people really concerned about whether this is just going to be a Bitcoin dominated cycle and there not be an alt season.
Or not as impressive a point, not like this mega blow off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the speed run.
We still have some data points to just cover.
Oh, no, go for it.
Yeah. And adding to this kind of bearishness, the next Fed meeting, they're not expecting a cut, but this was fed partially because unemployment numbers came in below expectations at 4.1%. So there's less pressure to cut.
Less pressure to cut.
And then we're getting PPI and CPI on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. If inflation's still sticky, then there's again less pressure to cut, more likely to hold rates. So,
and I don't know how it feels for you, but it feels like inflation is sticky.
It's been getting better up here, but our banks have been cutting rates much faster than you guys have.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it's coming down. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I went shopping yesterday.
I don't know. But
I went shopping yesterday and I looked and I'm like, I'm paying an extra $1 for bacon than I was like a year ago. And that was on like a $4 pack, like was originally a $4.50 or $5 pack of bacon. Now it's $6.50 or $6 worth of bacon. I'm like,
yeah, food is crazy expensive out where I live, but I used to be able to get a gallon of milk like $6-7, which is expensive, but it was like the cheapest spot. You know what I mean? And some of them were higher, $8, $9, $10. You know what I mean? Now that cheapest spot was at $9. You know what I mean? So it's, oh my gosh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got an impact.
In the price of milk. You know what I mean? It's just jumped. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That being said, can you run us through the speed run? There's some pretty good news. There's some interesting news here.
Yeah, it's a good one. Donald Trump still in the news, but I guess he does these trading cards. They're on Polygon, I think. He's got a couple of series, at least 2, maybe 3. I think 3.
Yeah.
But anyway, they just launched looks like it's an ordinals one. It says a Trump Bitcoin trading card. So I'm assuming it's ordinals. I have not dived too deep in it, but God bless him. The guy seems all in.
That's for sure. Sonic, which has had their new token S, is going to be listed on Binance on January 16th. So a few days from now, that's a lot of exposure for them. Big listing.
We got a Solve protocol. They're going to launch a token on January 17th. Solve is building a decentralized Bitcoin reserve. They have amassed 25,000 BTC or wrap BTC, kind of an airdrop campaign or whatever for this thing.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they're building outside
ETC.
of. Yeah, what are they doing outside of building the reserve? So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, like how does that change things? Getting all this wrapped Bitcoin,
Yeah.
to DeFi.
Next is Blast. They're releasing a mobile platform and announcing a major tokenomics upgrade very soon. Interesting to see what Blast does. They had a pretty poor airdrop in their round one. We'll see what they do to their tokenomics.
The only time I really heard about Blast was when it first came out. It's really, I haven't seen or heard much about them since. They're not going away quietly into the night. NFT project Azuki Back is the Azuki Back token Anime announced a launch on Ethereum and Arbitrum within this month. So we got a Azuki NFT token.
Yeah, playing off what Pang Pudgy Penguins did with their Pengu token, maybe. Avalanche has launched their Infra Build AI ecosystem grants program. So any AI projects that build on Avalanche could be eligible for up to $15 million in funding. Avalanche continuing to encourage people to build on their chain.
Yeah, and then staying with that AI narrative, which could be the big one. Then we got Coinbase revealed plans to tokenize coin stock on base layer 2. So also pretty fascinating. It's like, why can't we just buy everything on one exchange? Stocks, bonds,
Yeah, why not?
Bitcoin, ApeCoin, whatever.
Yeah,
All in the
whatever you
same.
want.
Base has got potential to do that. So let's go. You got any bold predictions for this bull run?
Going out on a limb, I think that DeFi has a big resurgence. I think DeFi is going to come back, but not the deep DeFi that you and I were familiar with, but real DeFi, real decentralized finance with real yields and stuff like that. I think that's going to have a huge resurgence this cycle.
And
What
my
about
bold
you?
prediction, yeah, I'm going with virtuals is $1 trillion market cap coin and flips ETH. I'm going all the way.
Oh, wow. Okay. You're going
I
bold.
don't actually think,
Oh,
yeah.
stand by your prediction. That's your bold prediction. Let's see if it
Yeah, just
happens.
looking at it for fun. Right? Is there something in the top 100 that could surprise? And it just seems nestled
Just in the
in the
right
right.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like AI, it's first mover. Potentially, these AI bots are like the NFTs of this cycle, just like this whole new asset class, and it's just sitting at the front. Yeah, it's a long shot, but yeah, maybe not financial advice. Do your own research. Have we said that yet? This is educational entertainment.
Yeah. No, we hadn't yet. So
This is a good
please do
time.
your
This is
own research. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we will see you next week. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to bringing you the news again soon.
subscribe.